Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Miami Culinary Institute's demonstration today. My name is Suzanne Kosnitzky. I am a senior student here, and it's my pleasure to introduce my fellow students, Rosella Picasso,
Hi.
Daniel Hernandez, and Andrew Jacobs. Andrew's going to tell us the dish that we will be preparing for you today.
All right. Hello, everyone. How's everyone doing? Good. See some familiar faces in the crowd. What we have for you today is we're going to do some dulce de leche filled brownie balls topped with a Swiss meringue. And we have a little surprise for you guys at the end on top of the meringue. But you're going to have to wait in your seats till the end for that. So I'll pass it back to Suzanne and get it going.
All right, we're going to start with preparing a Swiss meringue. So I will be adding for this meringue 8 ounces of egg whites and 16 ounces of sugar. And I'm putting this in a stainless steel bowl. We want to be very sure that our bowl is free of any fat. Fat will keep our eggs whites from whipping. So I'm going to give that just a little stir before I put it over the heat. And there are 3 types of meringues. Now we have to be very sure that the bowl is not actually touching the water, but that it is above the water so that our product is not coming in direct contact with the heat. I'm going to turn it down just a little bit more. So we're going to whisk our sugar and our eggs while we warm the egg whites and the sugar dissolves. And you can use a candy thermometer if you want to check the temperature. I have a probe style here, which is very nice. And we're going to warm this to approximately 120 degrees. And there are 3 types of meringue. There's Swiss meringue, which we're doing for you now. There's Italian meringue. And there's what's called French or common meringue. I'm going to check my temperature because it looks like my sugar is dissolving. And we want to just check that. And it is ready. So I'm going to remove that from the heat. And I'm going to take this over to Andrew, and we're going to add it to the stand mixer. A little bit slowly at first, just so we don't splatter everything everywhere, and then we're going to put it on a high speed. So now I am adding all of our egg white and sugar mixture to our stand mixer bowl. We want to scrape the sides, get all that good deliciousness in our bowl. And Andrew will take over from here.
What I'm doing here is just getting the mixer going. What we're going to do is going to start it at a slow speed so there's no splattering. And then we could crank it up. 2 minutes. We'll pass it on to Rosella, who's going to teach us how to make the brownies.
We're going to start by adding unsweetened chocolate. I'll take this. 1 pound of unsalted butter.
Rosella, I see you've cut up the butter into cubes. Is there a reason for that?
Yes, it's going to melt more quickly. You don't want to be like 10 minutes here with the chocolate. Semi-sweet chocolate chips.
So you're using 2 different types of chocolate in this recipe.
Exactly. And you want to mix it slowly.
Let me just mention while Rosella is melting her chocolate that egg whites in each of these meringues is produced to a different stiffness. In the French meringue, which is not warmed or cooked, We start by beating the egg whites by themselves until they've reached soft peaks, and then we begin to add the sugar very gradually. Because we're using, we are not cooking that meringue, you have to make sure you're using pasteurized eggs for sanitation purposes. Here in America, all of our eggs are pasteurized. There's not a problem. They don't do that in every country, so just be aware if you are making a French meringue and it's not cooked, make sure you're using pasteurized eggs. And when it comes to a softball stage, Andrew is going to let us know, and he's going to show us what the softball stage, the soft peak stage of the meringue looks like. We're going for stiff peaks in our Swiss meringue, so it will take longer, but we are going to stop and show you what a soft peak looks like.
Seeing as how we have some ribboning going on here in the egg whites, I'm going to say that the soft peaks will be ready in about 30 seconds.
And while that's happening, we'll get back to Rosella, whose chocolate is looking awfully beautiful. Does anybody here today know where brownies came from?
Anyone?
No? Well, let me tell you. The legend goes that during the Columbian Expo at the in Chicago in 1867, Mrs. Palmer, who owned the Palmer Hotel in Chicago, asked her chef to create a chocolate dessert that could be tucked into the lunchbox of the ladies who were attending the expo. And so the brownie was born.
So let me follow the second step. Okay. 6 eggs, sugar and instant coffee, a little vanilla extract, and you want to stir it. You don't whip brownies.
Just while those are still going, I'll give a brief history on dulce de leche. Dulce de leche, it's not known where its origin is, but the translation is that it's the candy of the milk. The way that they make dulce de leche is by heating the milk and getting the natural caramel flavors from it by caramelizing it, and that's literally how it becomes the candy of the milk, or dulce de leche.
Now we want to add the chocolate mixture to the egg mixture. You want to temper first because you don't want to scramble eggs.
Can you elaborate a little bit for us, Rosella, on what tempering is?
Tempering means adding a hot liquid in little by little, so you don't get the eggs scrambled. Now at this point, you want to add flour. With a sifter it will be better, but flour, salt.
I see that Andrew is going to check our peaks once more. We'll look down at Andrew. I would say almost there, Andrew. Almost there. We want a nice stiff peak that stands up on its own.
And the rest of the chocolate chips.
Our third chocolate.
Yeah, we're going to bake it off. When it's baked off, Rosella's it's gonna be really like fudgy. We're gonna try and make it to a ball, and then we're gonna stuff it with the dulce de leche, and then we're gonna cover it up, pinch it up, so it's not gonna. When we pipe it, we have to close it. So when we're done, I will demonstrate it.
Now baking sheet.
So Rosella is going to pour her brownie mixture into a parchment-lined baking pan. You want to make sure you're using a pan deep enough with enough batter to be able to reach in and pull out an amount to make into a ball. If your brownies were too thin, they would get a little too hard and you would not be able to form that ball. Looks good, Rosella. I could eat it right like that.
Now oven.
What degree temperature is that going into,
350.
Rosella? 350 degrees, and it's going to bake for approximately how long?
For about 25 minutes.
About 25 minutes. Yes, by the magic of television, we have baked these brownies. Time has quickly passed, and now we're going to form the balls. And then once the ball is made, what are we going to do, Rosella?
We're gonna fill them with dulce de leche.
Are you doing that by hand, or are you
Yeah, by
using
hand.
a mold?
No, all hand.
All by hand.
Give me a sheet pen.
We found that the best way to stuff the brownie balls is using a piping bag with both the dulce de leche, and also a cool way to get a nice technique with the meringue on layering it on top would also be to use a piping bag.
Like that, make a little hole.
Like a thumbprint
Yeah.
into the middle of the brownie.
Now we're just closing it up and forming the ball again.
Show them, put your hand out, Danny, and let them sort of see. There we go.
If I could quickly take your attention away from Danny,
Down to Andrew.
see the stiff peaks now standing up by itself. This is what you want. Also the nice sheen that the egg whites have.
We want a moist and glossy sheen too. If we overbeat the meringue, it's going to get dry and crumbly, and that is not what we want.
You can also like fill a ball like that, and then get the other one and stick them together. You know, one like that.
I'm going to bring it over here.
That's another form of doing it.
What we do here is you roll down the top so it makes it easier to get everything down there. You take your spatula and you basically just push it against. You can use your hands once it's in the bottom of the bag and just go ahead and squeeze it out. You want to fill your piping bag up a little bit more than halfway, just so that way you don't have to go back and refill it, because once it's filled, it kind of becomes a pain to fill it up again.
And then we're just going to cut off the tip of the piping bag. This is a disposable piping bag. You can use a pastry bag, but you have to wash those. So it's a lot easier to do it in a disposable bag. And you could use a tip for certain looks to your meringue, if you want star shapes or cone shapes. But
Suzanne,
Rosella is so good at this that she doesn't even need a tip.
she's really good.
So now we want to cover the brownie ball, just like that. It's like a baked Alaska, so it doesn't matter if you don't make it perfect. Just like that. Okay, here.
Yeah.
And now,
And then for our finishing touch, as promised, what we're going to do is we're going to take a torch. Make sure light your torch up, briefly hit it all around, and then you have a beautiful dessert.
Voila. And thank you very much for joining us today.
that's how it looks.